It is officially 2025, which means it is time for New Year's resolutions. I have multiple for Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you guys for making me your first listen of the day. Like I said, we're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you don't miss out on a second of the coverage. I also want to make sure you guys all had a happy and safe New Year and holiday season, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let's dive right into it. I think we all know what a New Year's resolution is. If you don't, it's kind of like these things, these goals that we set out for ourselves. Mine personally, I'm getting in the gym a little bit more. I have a wedding coming up in over a year now, May 2026, but I want to be looking a little more slim in the suit. You know what I mean? I want to be looking good. I'm also wearing a hat. So this is the first ever Locked On Buffs episode where I'm wearing a hat. The hair just was not looking good today. Just had like a weird poof, and I was like, you know what? I got this hat for Christmas, and we'll go with it, right? We'll rock the hat a little bit. You know, it looks good. I like it. So I wanted to go over what New Year's resolutions I think Colorado should have. Deion Sanders and his new look Colorado Buffaloes, because obviously going from 4-8 to 9-4 is a huge step up. I think it's a tremendous turnaround, and I don't think Deion Sanders gets enough credit for it. That being said, I think next year will be inherently more difficult for Coach Prime as a coach. It's his first year coaching where he doesn't have one of his sons on the team, or at least, or where he's not coaching his sons. And it's also going to be a bit of a challenge because I think Colorado's going to have a bigger target on their back because now people have expectations. I think they had somewhat of a target because people wanted them to fail, but now that they saw them succeed, you can't take a step back, because if you're Deion Sanders and you take a step back, it will be all bad. Realistically, let's dive into it. So the first resolution: get off to stronger starts. I think this plagued Colorado pretty frequently this past season, and 3 out of their 4 losses, they were trailing by double digits in the first half. So you don't want to be in a position where you're playing catch up, right? I think the BYU game was a prime example of this. Obviously, it took Colorado until like the very end to get going, but they just simply were not, they didn't look competitive at first, right? By the time halftime rolled around, you're down 20, and you want to be within punching distance, right? Same thing with the Kansas game, right? I think at one point they were down 17-0 in the first half. They went into the second quarter down by 9. But still, you don't want to be. They played catch up the whole game, and they came within 2 points at one point, but then Kansas went up again. Nebraska, that was a bit of a tough one, right? They scored 28 points in the first half, and then Colorado adjusted, but they didn't score in the second half, or they did score in the second half, excuse me, but it was just too little too late, right? 10 points in the third and fourth quarter combined doesn't make up for the 28 that you spotted the other team. So Colorado getting off to stronger starts is a must. I don't know if the script plays from Pat Shermer need to be better. I don't know if there's just maybe the game plans for the defenses weren't as good as would have liked. Whatever it is, you really need to, Colorado really needs to figure out a way to start off strong and not always feel like they're playing catch up. Next resolution: commit to the run game, right? I think we saw this a lot this year, and I think a lot of people, it was really put on blast or emphasized in the loss to BYU, because I think people forget how little Colorado ran the ball, and they obviously gave up on it against BYU. They only had 2 yards rushing, which obviously that counts Shedeur Sanders' sack yards. But even then, between their 3 running backs, I think they came out with, I think it was like 11 carries for 36 yards between the 3 backs, and that's just not enough, right? You need a run game that can change the game for you. Colorado's run game doesn't do anything for them, right? It gets them the occasional first down. They need to commit to the run game too many times this year, and I think they sort of fell into this trap of, oh, we have Shedeur Sanders, oh, we have Travis Hunter, so we're just going to keep throwing the ball to Travis Hunter, or we have LeJounte Wester, we're just going to keep throwing the ball, which makes sense. Like I see the logic there. Like, get the ball in the hands of your best players. That being said, you're one-dimensional, and when teams know you have to throw the ball, it's going to be very difficult to throw the ball when they could just drop everyone. And it's like, okay, just dink and dunk your way down the field, or we're daring you to run the ball and you won't do it. Like, Colorado never, ever committed to the run this season. And I think next year when you have a new quarterback, regardless of it's Caden Salter, Julian Lewis, um, you'll have a new quarterback in the system. You'll have a newish group of receivers. I think there's going to be some returning faces, but still not super experienced. You'll have some new members of the offensive line. So get the offense going, get the offense not so reliant on the passing game. So that way you can get more players involved. It opens up the passing game if you have a run game, right? It opens up that RPO stuff. It opens up the play action stuff. And right now, Colorado just doesn't have that, right? I would say we'll break the offense up into four sort of passes, right? You have your quick pass, your quick game where it's like, okay, three-step drop, boom, ball's out, right? You have the RPO, which is sort of it's dependent on having a quarterback that can obviously run or pass. There was no R for Colorado, or even if it's not the quarterback running, the running back running, right? Wasn't really a factor, right? We all knew Shedeur Sanders was probably going to pull the ball and throw it. Then you just have the play action game, which are a little bit different than RPO. And in the way I'm breaking it down here, there's three. And then you have your longer developing plays. Colorado, out of those four, they only have two of those things. So you have, we'll just say 50% of a playbook because you're limiting yourself by not committing to the run game. And I think that requires the offensive line to be better. I think that requires the running backs to be better, but it also requires Pat Shermer and Deion Sanders specifically, because I think if he wanted to say, hey, we want to run the ball 25 times a game, I think Pat Shermer would figure it out. So everyone needs to commit to the run game. And then less penalties. Colorado was again one of the most penalized teams in the country, and penalties take you out of games, right? Penalties keep other teams in them. They take you out of them. And it's really difficult to always, one, start off slow, B, give the other team opportunities, whether it's holding, offsides, unnecessary roughness, whatever it is. You don't want to give these other teams opportunities, especially in a Big 12 where it's going to be a battle each and every week, and every play could be the difference. I mean, we saw it yesterday in the playoff, right? Arizona State fans were hoping to get that. Targeting call, and they didn't. Had they gotten it, maybe it sets up a game-winning field goal and forces Texas to try to drive down the field with 40 seconds left or whatever, right? But instead, they missed on the call, and Texas got a chance to win the game, and they could have won the game, but their kicker missed. But just look at Colorado this year. First game decided by single digits. Baylor game overtime. Kansas State single digits. Cincinnati was a closer game than the score indicated. All these games, right? Kansas was a closer score at one point, where Colorado had some issues and they don't win that game. And so if you could help yourself more than you help the other team, that's a good way to go about it. So those are my 3 resolutions for Coach Prime and the Buffs. You guys comment below, what are your resolutions? Because I think those 3 things can really help maintain Colorado's success, because they've experienced success. Now they have to do the hardest part of success, which is sustain it. And that is not always easy, regardless of how confident we are in there's a little dog hair on my hat, sorry. Regardless of how confident we are in the team, in the coach, or whatever it may be. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how it's important for Colorado to quickly figure out the new identity and stick to it. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. FanDuel has so many ways to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. I always think of Derrick Henry, powered in, Josh Allen. He's always good for a rushing touchdown or 2, or maybe 1, but he's always good for a passing touchdown or 2, right? Lamar Jackson, same thing. So I like to look at those guys, bet which ones are going to score a touchdown, and there we go. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day. Like I said, making me your first listen. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, give me those 5 stars so we can continue to grow the show. Have a really cool interview coming up tomorrow. One of the transfer portal guys who just recently signed with the Buffs. You guys could guess in the comment section. We'll see if you're right. I'm excited to talk to him. But let's talk about it because he's going to be new to the team and there's going to be a lot of new faces. Right? I think Colorado brought in, I think, around or over 100 guys in the portal the past couple years, and so now they have to sort of figure out a way to. They need to figure out a way to really change things, and here's why. Colorado's identity this past season and last year as well was we have two of the best players in college football, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that they are in positions to help us succeed. And I totally get it. You play to your strengths. And for Colorado, their strengths were Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, literally probably the best quarterback in college football and maybe the best overall player in college football. So you have two of the top five players in college football, we'll just say, and one of them played both ways. So you would really have three of the top five players in college football. But they're gone now. And I think Colorado's whole MO of we're going to let Shedeur and Travis cook and the rest of the guys will step up when needed, that's not going to work next year, right? It's going to be neat. It's going to be, they're going to need to have more of a team conservative effort where it's like, okay, we are a team that prides ourselves on defense, and we are a team that prides ourselves on getting the run game going and scoring points or holding other opponents to X amount of points and putting up 40 points or 30 points, whatever it is, right? I don't know what their identity is, but I think it'll be a challenge. And I think that's kind of the hard part and will be the biggest test for Deion Sanders is how does he, as a coach, as Coach Prime, how does he change his mentality, his philosophy, his approach? Because when you have two players that were as good as Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, and you could sort of hang your hat on, hey, they're going to make plays for us. And they, for the most part, that was right. I mean, when Colorado struggled, like let's look at the 4 games that Colorado lost this year. What did you notice that were in common? One, like for BYU, for instance, Shedeur Sanders probably played maybe one of the worst games we've seen him play. 16-23, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, QBR of 18.6. The Nebraska game, right? They kind of got out of it early. Shedeur Sanders threw an early pick 6, and he was 23 of 38, 21.1 QBR, and it was just like, okay, Shedeur doesn't have it right away, and all of a sudden the team's done, right? I think you need to figure out a way to get more guys involved, and obviously you're only going to play one quarterback, but you need your running backs to be involved. You need your receivers to be involved. You need everyone to be involved. It's an all hands on deck sort of operation now. And I just think Colorado got really comfortable with we're gonna rely on our guys and we're gonna see what happens. And I think if teams were able to slow those two down, it was like, okay, what do we do now? And it's like, I don't know. Our two best players aren't performing. So who else is going to step up? And I just don't know if they had the star power on the rest of the roster to sort of have guys carry them as much as Shedeur and Travis did. Now, I'm not saying they didn't have guys that stepped up at big moments, like LaJohntay Wester stepped up, Cameron Craig stepped up. I'm trying to think of other guys like Will Shepherd had some big moments, but again, it was all hinging on, okay, you had a big moment. Now we need Shedeur and Travis to really get this together. So I think Colorado's new identity, if I had to sort of pick one, I think it'd be an offense that wants to play fast, leans into the mobility of their quarterback, right? I think their offense needs to. I'm assuming Caden Salter. At least I'd probably give him the nod, right? He's an experienced quarterback. I don't think he leaves a program. Obviously, he was going to transfer anyway because he was going to transfer last year as well. I think he wanted to test the Power 4 market, but I don't think you leave a program like Liberty, who's had some pretty big success. They're technically a playoff contender because they could be the best Group of 5 team, and leave for a program like Colorado if you don't think you're going to play, right? So I think Caden Salter is going to start, and he's fast, right? He's got a big arm, but he's quick. So I think their offensive identity is using his skill set to his advantage, right? He's not going to be like Shedeur Sanders and move around in the pocket and launch balls downfield while never really scrambling. Like if he sees an avenue to scramble, he will. So use that to your advantage, right? Get the RPO game going, get the quarterback design runs going, get the whatever else going. Lean into that. Defensively, it'll be interesting, right? You're losing BJ Green, you're losing Cameron Craig, you're losing Shiloh, you're losing Travis. And it's one of those things where you're revamping pretty much a majority of your secondary. You lose Nakai Hill-Green, who is a strong linebacker, strong presence. You're losing a couple of key guys across the defensive front. So it's like, I think they really need to hone in on guys who could get to the quarterback and stop the run, right? I think that's where Colorado had its most success. I think that they'll have to sort of change things up because you no longer have Travis Hunter. So that's no longer a side of the field that's absolutely clamped down. So I think they're going to have to change that as well. So I'm interested to see what their new identities are. Um, Realistically, you can't just do the same thing every single time and expect the same results, right? Especially when you have different pieces. And so I know Colorado understands that, and I do think that we will be seeing sort of philosophy change from Coach Prime and company. When we come back, I'm going to dive into the portal needs that I think are standing out the most for Colorado right now. This episode of Locked On Buffs, it's brought to you by Game Time. If you or a loved one want to go to an event, well, Game Time has the best ticket prices for you. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff game is a credible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games, and I can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I used Game Time Picks to find tickets for an upcoming game. Browsing through deals was a breeze. I went to a Braves game. I used Game Time. I went to a college football game between two top 5 teams earlier this year. Used Game Time. When as a fan, I was like, you know what? I'll take this game off and I'll write in podcast later. I just want to go as a fan. The super deal in particular stood out as the best value for the event. I love what I could see. The seat views before buying on the app shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me complete peace of mind. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Let's look at it right now. Colorado's transfer portal class, I think it's growing. There's a lot of names that are being connected to the Buffs. And it's one of those things where they really need to continue to target certain positions. And I'm going to go through those positions that are standing out to me as needing a little bit of a boost. Or I'll go 3 positions where they need a boost, and then 2 positions that I think they're going to target regardless. Let's just break down the class right now. It's 17 guys deep. They got a safety, offensive lineman, receiver, punter, quarterback, corner, defensive lineman, linebacker, kicker, tight end, defensive lineman, offensive lineman. So I think realistically, and this is the most glaring need for me because they haven't figured it out yet. And until they do, I'm going to keep harping on it. The offensive line. Shedeur Sanders was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the country, and Colorado's run game was pretty much useless. So what do you need to do? Well, you need to get offensive linemen, and I think this is a hard part about this method that they're trying, which, I mean, they got Chauncey Gooden, who I think in the well-off media videos has kind of stood out a little bit. He's an interior offensive lineman, 4-star out of Tennessee, Nashville. He's a guy who's 6'4", 320, kind of has that size already, and it seemed like he kind of has that energy, that toughness that they love, and so maybe he could slide into a starting spot, develop, and be a cornerstone with Jordan Seaton. But they need guys who could come in, play, and can do both, can be efficient in both run blocking and pass blocking, right? It seems like you're getting either or, and not a lot of the run blocking. I think to really open up this run game and to protect the quarterback, you need a better offensive line. So I'd like to see a few more linemen. I think you need to get a corner, maybe more corners, right? They brought in Makari Vickers from Oklahoma, former 4-star recruit. He was a highly ranked 4-star recruit. Had some troubles off the field. He was a top 100 and top 75 recruit during his time in Norman. Picked Oklahoma over Bama, Michigan, all those schools, right? Didn't play a lot at Oklahoma. Had some issues, like I said, and I think it's great that they got him. I still think they need to go and get more, right? I don't think you could ever have enough depth at corner, especially with how pass heavy these offenses are, and you never know injury-wise what can happen. So I would like to see that secondary rebuilt, because when you lose a guy like Travis Hunter, you're not only losing. I mean, in college football, regardless of what the Thorpe Award says, and I don't think just one guy can replace that. So I think you need to go in, grab a corner, and then I think they need more receivers, right? I think Joseph Williams from Tulsa, really like what he brings to the table. That being said, Are they confident enough in guys like Omarion Miller, Draylon Miller, Cam Michael, excuse me? Are they confident enough in those guys to sort of carry the load offensively, right? Joseph Williams was the AAC Freshman of the Year. He's 6'2", 195. I don't feel like it would be the worst thing to go get some more depth. I don't feel like it'd be the worst thing to sort of have more talent at receiver to give your quarterback more options to throw to. Especially, I do like what they brought in the high school class, but you don't always want to rely on freshmen, right? You have Adrian Wilson, who's exciting, out of Pflugerville, Texas. And then I think the receiver that I'm most excited about is Quentin Gibson, 5'8", 165, a little small dude, but he's quick, he's fast, and reminds me a lot of what we've been seeing from Jimmy Horn and LeJontay Wester. So I think those are the three positions that they need to target. The two positions I expect them to target, I wouldn't be shocked if they land linebackers. And I wouldn't be shocked if they land a couple defensive linemen, pass rushers, because I think the more depth on defense, the better. Plus, they're losing some key guys. So if you could help revamp those units and keep those units firing in all cylinders, kicking, could be another really stout defense under Robert Livingston. So you guys comment below, what position do you think Colorado needs to transfer or needs to target in the transfer portal, and what position do you think they will target the most in the transfer portal? Let me know what you think. Let me know, and we will discuss in the comment section. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, give me 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope all of you have a great day. This has been Locked On Buffs.